Hey, I get it, you're staring at that slick blue guitar online, wondering if it's really worth the cash, and you're probably thinking, what if it looks great on the screen but feels off when I actually plug in and play? I've spent the last couple of weeks trying out a few different American-made Fenders, and I want to walk you through the moments that made me pause, the ones that made me smile, and the spots where I almost put the thing back on the shelf. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Fender American Professional Classic Jaguar in that faded Lake Placid blue isn't just a pretty face. That color is a subtle nod to vintage surf vibes, but underneath the finish you've got an Alder body wood that's been a mainstay for Fender's Solidbody guitars for decades. The weight sits somewhere in the middle of the road, not as light as a Stratocaster but not as hefty as a Telecaster with a mahogany chunk. When you strap it on for an hour of rehearsal, you'll notice the balance point sits right around your midrib, which means you won't have to keep readjusting the strap after each chord change. That's a quiet win for anyone who spends a lot of time standing up and switching between rhythm and lead parts. Now, the tremolo system. This Jaguar comes with a floating tremolo, and that's where the value really starts to show up in day-to-day use. If you're the kind of player who likes to sprinkle in a few subtle vibratos or dive bombs without the whole guitar screaming "I'm a whammy bar monster," the floating bridge gives you a smooth, predictable feel. I tried dialing it in on a few clean chord progressions and then tossed in some aggressive surf-style licks. The bridge stayed in tune better than I expected for a floating system, which can be a pain point on older Jaguars. That said, if you're a hardcore player who wants a lock-in-style locking tremolo for extreme dive bombs, you might find the floating bridge a bit too forgiving. The neck and fingerboard are both maple, and that's a hallmark of the classic Fender feel. The neck has a modern C shape, which most people describe as comfortable enough for both chording and soloing. What I appreciated most was the radius, roughly 9.5 inches. It's a sweet spot for those who like to bend strings without feeling the fingerboard digging into the frets, yet it still retains enough bite for clean, articulate chord work. In practical terms, if you're used to vintage-style narrower radii on older Jaguars, you might need a short adjustment period. On the flip side, if you've spent most of your playing life on a modern slim taper neck, the classic feel of this maple may feel a touch thicker, but it's not a deal-breaker. Let's talk pickups. You get two single-coil pickups, one in the neck position and one at the bridge. Single coils are known for that glass-clear, articulate tone that Fender is famous for. Think surf music, clean funk, and bright rhythm chops. I ran a few comparisons, a clean tone rhythm track with the neck pickup, and a punchy, slightly overdriven lead line with the bridge. The bridge pickup gave me a nicely pronounced mid-range that cut through a mix without getting muddy, which is a real plus if you're playing in a band and need to be heard over bass and drums. However, the classic single-coil hum is present, especially when you crank the amp. If you're a player who can't tolerate any hum at all, you might want to consider a hum-cancelling option or a pedal to clean it up. One practical snag I hit was the strap button placement near the tremolo. The bridge mounts on the lower bout, and the strap button sits a few inches away. When you're playing fast, that little offset can feel odd, particularly if you're used to a more centralized button. It doesn't affect sound or playability, but it's the sort of detail that becomes noticeable after a long gig. If you're a gigging musician who's used to a very stable strap position for quick stage moves, you might need to adjust your strap or get a more robust strap button. Now, who should actually buy this guitar? If you're a player who wants a versatile instrument that handles everything from clean, jazzy chords to crunchy overdrive, and you love that classic Fender aesthetic, this Jaguar is a solid contender. It's especially a good fit for intermediate players who have outgrown entry-level models but aren't ready to jump into a fully custom shop build. The combination of the Alder body, maple neck, and the two single coils gives you a wide tonal palette that can sit nicely in a home studio or a small club setting. It also works well for singers-songwriters who need a guitar that looks as good on stage as it sounds on a recording mic. On the other hand, if you're a heavy metal guitarist who relies on high-output humbuckers, or if you need a locking